We usually think of discipline as a grueling, perpetual battle of the will, but the reality is that your brain isn't being stubborn. It's simply following a set of ancient instructions that no longer match your modern environment. The moment you sit down to focus on something demanding, your mind doesn't just cooperate. It triggers a specific cognitive rebellion, instantly hunting for a way to escape the effort. Your focus is quickly dismantled by micro-distractions. You think about your phone, a half-remembered notification, or a stray thought that has no impact on your life. Within minutes, your attention has been successfully hijacked. When you lose focus this quickly, you tend to internalize the failure. You stop looking at the mechanics of the situation and start branding yourself as someone who is simply lazy or incapable of discipline. Liam's experience is a perfect example. He had high-level ambitions. He wanted to get fit, master new skills, and build a career he actually cared about. But he found that his willpower didn't slowly erode over weeks. It collapsed within hours, and eventually within minutes of him sitting down to work. Every time he tried to start, he would almost immediately reach for his phone. He scrolls, watches videos, and effectively surrenders the effort he planned to make. By the time night arrived, the weight of that failure would set in. He felt the guilt of another wasted day, followed by the empty reassurance that he would magically be a different person tomorrow. Without understanding why his brain was rejecting the work, Liam was trapped. Relying on tomorrow to fix the problem guaranteed that his next attempt would end in the exact same cycle. To fix this, we have to stop viewing distraction as a personality flaw and start viewing it as a survival mechanism that is simply misfiring in the modern world. This timeline illustrates our biological priority. For our ancestors, survival meant conserving energy and seeking comfort. This ancient wiring is now being hit by the complex, high-energy demands of modern work. When you try to do something difficult, your brain doesn't see a goal. It perceives a threat to its energy reserves. It sounds an alarm to prevent you from wasting calories on something that isn't essential for immediate survival. It intentionally deploys feelings of boredom and friction to push you back toward a reward. It effectively blocks the pathway to your work and redirects you toward the path of least resistance. This means that constant distraction isn't a sign that you are weak. It's a sign that your brain is perfectly performing the exact energy-saving function it was evolved to do. Liam eventually realized he had been a passenger to this evolutionary programming, letting his biological impulses dictate his actions without any pushback. He changed his strategy. Instead of aiming for hours of grueling work that his brain would naturally reject, he committed to a strictly bounded 10-minute block of action. This scale shows how the brain's defense system reacts to the size of a task. When a massive project is sliced into a tiny 10-minute sliver, the threat level drops to a calm green baseline. The task is now too small for the brain to categorize it as a danger to its energy reserves. Behavioral change is a negotiation. By reducing the pressure, Liam completely stopped trying to overpower his biology with sheer willpower, and instead he learned to actively work within its natural limits. By staying consistent with those 10 minutes, the resistance he felt began to fade. Eventually, those small windows of effort naturally expanded into 20 and 30-minute sessions. Momentum is where progress becomes tangible. This graph shows a small action accumulating mass, plotting a clear upward trajectory. Crossing this threshold provided evidence of his capability. Seeing the work add up replaced his old self-image with grounded confidence. Once the brain sees a consistent return on the energy it spends, it stops sounding the alarm. Momentum proves to your biology that the effort is safe, allowing the brain to fuel further action. This process creates an active dialogue with your mind. When the impulse to scroll or quit appears, you learn to intercept that signal and consciously delay the gratification. You also begin to reframe the feeling of boredom. Instead of seeing it as a sign to stop, you recognize that mental friction is the brain adapting to meaningful work. After months of this practice, Liam was able to work for hours at a time. He didn't achieve this because the tasks became easier, but because his cognitive endurance had grown stronger through training. Discipline is the trained skill of collaborating with your biology. It's setting the conditions for your gears to lock firmly into place, producing consistent results. If you struggle to focus, you aren't genetically flawed. You are simply an untrained operator of your own mind. By learning to manage these mechanics, you can finally move past the cycle of guilt and change your life.